I was asked and encouraged to take a sabbatical, doing any care stuff or counseling stuff for a year. And I tell you, first 3 months, it was hard to separate myself from what I provided and helped people. The first couple of weeks was so disorienting. It felt like a midlife unraveling, if you will.
This is a show about self-discovery,
about understanding ourselves,
about looking into the mirror to see the good,
the bad,
and the unknown of who we are.
This is about how we relate to God
and everyone else.
From Love Thy Neighborhood in Louisville, Kentucky.
Welcome.
Welcome to the Enneacast.
Hey, welcome to the Enneacast. I'm Jesse Eubanks.
And I'm Sam Stevenson.
In every episode, we explore the Enneagram together. And today, we are going to be talking about style number 2, type 2 on the Enneagram, commonly known as the helper. Sam, what are some of the other nicknames for the helper?
Yeah, the altruist, the caretaker, the enabler, the pleaser, the special friend. That's
the special friend.
What it says. I don't want to say that.
Sorry, Rizzo and Hudson. I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so, when I think of the helper, here is the story that comes to mind from my own life. When my wife was pregnant with our second child, we received some really devastating news where we found out that her pregnancy was not going well. And in fact, it had become really dangerous both to her and the baby. And she was going to have to be put on full bed rest. And the doctors told us that if she were to move much, that the baby would die. And, we had child number 1. And now we got number 2 on the way. But also, I had a full-time job at the time. So we were struggling with how are we supposed to take care of our daughter while I'm also working full-time, but my wife's on bed rest. And as a result of all of that, we had 2 friends start coming every single day while I was gone at work to take care of my wife and my daughter. And both of these folks, they were 2s. And they gave so much time.
Right. They were made for that moment.
Yeah, they showed up every single day to take care of Lindsay and to take care of my daughter. And as a result of that, Lindsay ended up healing and getting better. And as a result of that, I've got a beautiful 8-year-old son. That is only possible. He is only alive because God was at work through these helper types that came to my house to take care of us as a family. That is the helper at their best. They literally helped save my son's life by the simple action of showing up every day and taking care of us as a family.
That's so good. And that's so true of being a 2 being at their best.
Yeah. So when 2s are at their best, when they are resourceful, some of the resourceful traits of the helper are that they are caregivers. These are folks that they want to take care of other people. They have a desire to be attentive to the needs of other people. They're relationally oriented, so they gravitate towards other folks and the relationships in their lives. They really value the relationships in their lives.
Yeah, they're very outwardly defined. Everything is about the other person.
Yeah, they're very focused on other people. They're generous. They literally live by the mantra that generosity is the best way to live. They're not selfish. They are very nurturing people. So they value their friendships. They nurture those friendships. They take care of them. They're attentive to them. And they're very compassionate folks. When they come across hard things in life, they are moved by those things and they're moved towards those people that are in need. They're just very compassionate folks. And so that's the 2 when they are resourceful. Sam, tell me a little bit about what happens when the 2 becomes non-resourceful.
Yeah, so they move from a place of being helpful to needing to be needed. There's a sense in which that they were only ever valued in their family when they were providing help. And so their identity becomes in their ability to serve others. And so that can turn into people pleasing. They can become overprotective. They can become intrusive and tell you that you have needs way before you recognize that you have needs and kind of before you ask them if they could help you. So
yeah, it makes me think of, there's an old sitcom, Everybody Loves Raymond.
Right.
And there was the mother-in-law on the show and she was notorious for
hello, I'm just here to stop
fabricating
by.
needs,
Yeah.
that the family didn't have,
I
and
saw
the
that you
family
had a
was
hole
always
in that sweater, so I
rolling
bought
their
you
eyes.
4 more.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
So when I think of the non-resourceful two, I always think of the mother off that show.
Yeah, totally. And they love to help others, and they don't know what to do if other people around them don't need help. So they have an exaggerated need to be validated, and they ended up denying their own needs as a result of this compulsion to be helpful, to be an asset to other people.
And, in a lot of cases, folks with a lot of non-resourceful two grew up in households or in families in which there was some kind of role reversal where they as a child had to assume many of the responsibilities of the parent, or they felt some sort of emotional responsibility for the well-being of their parents, while at the same time their parents ended up, maybe having childlike behavior. So sometimes I'll talk to folks that have a lot of two, and, it might be something where they have parents that lost jobs, or parents that had addiction issues, or parents that were always on the brink of a divorce, or were fighting all the time, or parents that were absentee while they had a sibling that was, special needs or something like that. But generally speaking, a lot of folks that have a lot of non-resourceful two grew up in environments where they felt an inordinate amount of responsibility, considering the fact that they were just a child.
Yeah, they were in a situation where if a need presented itself, if they had a need, that in some way stressed out their environment. So they learned too soon to manage their own needs and to even repress and deny that they had them at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And every personality type comes with some kind of wake-up call. There's a moment where there are certain things that begin to show up, and it's an opportunity to turn the boat around, stop heading this direction.
Yeah. And
for the two, the wake-up call is when they begin to believe that they must go out to others in order to win them over. That becomes a narrative that drives them, that I need to go take care of these people, because if I don't, something terrible will happen to them, or even worse than that, these folks won't care about me or remember me, or I won't have much of a role in their life any longer.
Yeah.
But any moment in which they are driven that they have to go out to take care of other people in order to win them over, that is the moment in which you are being offered a wake-up call. It's an opportunity to turn around and to try things a new way. Well, every personality type on the Enneagram has a deadly sin. And, for folks that are in the heart triad, the truth is that these folks struggle with the issue of shame, the belief that we are defective. Something is broken about us. Something's
it's about their
missing.
identity.
Yeah, it's about our identity. And for twos, this shame eventually it gives birth to this deadly sin of pride. And the way that the twos can nurture this pride, making it bigger, making it worse, is through offering abundant compliments. So sometimes you'll meet somebody and they're showering you with compliments, but it's every time you see them, they are
flattery.
Yeah.
It's not even a rooted, genuine, hey, I really did notice this about you. It's oh, we'll have to catch up. So great to see you. Everything's fine. Don't worry about me. I'm good. Blah, blah, blah.
You're awesome. Sam, you're the greatest. Sam, you're just wonderful. Sam, I haven't told you lately just how amazing you are. And you go after a while, you're can you put the brakes on? It's just a little much. They do it through accommodations and through personal sacrifices. So they'll adjust their schedule backwards and forwards instead of saying, I'm not available, or, listen, that doesn't work for me. They'll rearrange everything.
Yeah, they'll say yes before they think about, should I have done that? It's
absolutely.
You need me there? Okay, yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, totally. And they'll do it through just helpful deeds, but sadly those deeds can sometimes come with some strings attached to them, and that's the strings are that it's nurturing and growing the pride of the non-resourceful two. Okay, so every type has a deadly sin, but every type also has a psychological defense. So Sam, tell me a little bit about how the helper defends themselves.
Yeah, it's through the defense of repression. So they put their own needs, they bury them down, and then project it onto others. And so it's other people are needy, but I'm not. It's all about what you need. I'm good if you're good. And so there's a sense in which they have the pride has just lied to them and told them that they have every expendable resource available to make the needs happen, when really they're just repressing the truth is that I'm a needy person and I have needs as well.
Yeah, and so even actually to even bring up the issue of pride becomes incredibly offensive to a lot of folks if they've got enough of that non-resourceful two stuff cooking inside of them, and you bring it up, no matter how gentle you are about it, it feels so wildly offensive because they genuinely do not believe that pride is an actual issue, in their life.
Well, we say too, like when you ask a two what they need, they're going to say, I don't know. And that's
or they're going to say nothing.
Or
They'll
whatever
say, I don't need anything.
Whatever you need, I need. I'll be fine. Yeah. So it's just a sense in which that like they can't even think about that right now, and they're offended that you even asked like why they needed anything.
So every personality type has an idol. There's something that they look to for safety, for comfort, for identity, for a belief that it's going to be the thing that gives them substance and value and a way forward in life. And for the two, the idol that they are tempted to worship is being indispensable. But idols require sacrifices. And the idol of being indispensable requires the two to sacrifice God's grace, because grace requires having needs.
Right.
Grace means that you have to come to God and go, God, I need these things from you. And God goes, in my grace, I give you all these things. Mm-hmm. But if you don't think that you have any needs, then you also don't need God's grace.
Man.
Also, the idol of being indispensable requires sacrificing, asking for what you need. It also requires sacrificing receiving without being paid back.
Like unconditional love?
Yeah, like receiving without paying back to somebody else. Mm-hmm. So it's somebody giving you something and you receive it fully, wholeheartedly, and there's no desire to...
Yeah, without trying to say like, okay, I have to go get them a gift too. Like I feel like twos are the ones that like, if you give them a birthday gift and then they like write you a thank you note and then you write them the thank you note back. Like, it's just like, you can't even accept the compliment.
Yeah, if somebody's got enough of that kind of non-resourceful two stuff going on, and you gave them a $10 gift, then, within a couple weeks, they feel like they need to give you a $15 gift. Like,
yeah, but not even like at a one-upping place of pride. It's like, oh, you help me, I'll help you. It's like the one-way love of the Lord and just the one-way love of friendship is really hard for the twos. They feel like they need to reciprocate that in some way. So the good news is that God doesn't leave us where we started, and that he gives us an invitation. And so, the issue for folks in the heart triad is the issue of shame. And God responds to that shame with his delight. He dotes over us. He sings over us. He delights in us. He celebrates us as his children. He says we're enough.
Yeah. And he invites the two towards what virtue in order to see this pride transformed?
It's the virtue of humility. And so that's what they've been striving for all along, is to present themselves as a humble person. But through the work of the Holy Spirit and through the Lord, they're able to be more open-handed instead of always going toward other people. They're able to say, hey, I need help. I have needs. And actually, God is present with me. It is good to receive. I have my own desires. They're able to kind of stake their claim and to receive help and to adopt a posture of humility.
Well, twos, we love you guys, and we are so excited because right now we're getting ready to have an amazing, wonderful conversation with one of our favorite twos, James Santos. So please stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, Sam, we got a contest.
That I can win?
No, you may not win.
Oh, man. Well, what kind of contest is it?
We are going to give away a grand prize of 2 tickets to our next Enneagram workshop.
Oh, nice. Here in Louisville?
Yeah, it's going to be here in Louisville. It's going to be an all-day event where folks can come and you and I will personally walk them through the Enneagram. How cool is that?
That's cool.
Okay, and then if folks don't win the grand prize, we're also going to be giving away original artwork based on the 9 virtues of the Enneagram.
What? Okay, so how do people enter the contest?
Okay, so there's 2 ways that people can enter. The first way is if they head over to lovethyneighborhood.org/Enneacast. They can enter to win there. Mm-hmm. The second way is just by leaving us a review on iTunes.
Oh, that's so easy. They're already on the podcast app, so just scroll down and fill out the review.
Or do both those things, and you get entered twice.
Mind blown.
So I'm super excited to be able to give these things away to different folks. So if you are listening and you want to participate, all you have to do, head over to lovethyneighborhood.org/Enneacast or leave us a review on iTunes. May the best Enneatype win.
The 9s. At the last minute, they'll procrastinate. See you tomorrow.
Hey, Sam, do you remember how we first met?
Yeah, you came to my college campus on Halloween night.
That was the weirdest experience. I remember watching a bunch of people like arms raised in worship, but they were like dressed as like Batman.
Yeah, Superman. I was dressed as Lois Lane, so I had a Superman with me.
Unto the Lord. Well, okay, so I came to the school because I was recruiting people for Love Thy Neighborhood, and you showed up.
Yeah, and it worked. So I came the summer after I graduated, served for that summer, loved it so much, decided to stay on for the year. And that year completely changed the trajectory of my life.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this and you're between the ages of 18 and 30 and you're just trying to figure out, what do I want to do with the next summer or the next year of my life? Come, be a part of Love Thy Neighborhood. We have 18 different internship tracks that you can choose from.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity to grow in your relational skills, your professional skills, but also just an opportunity for you to grow deeper in your relationship with the Lord and His people.
So if you want to apply to be a part of this program, head over to lovethyneighborhood.org. While you're there, you can check out all of the different causes that we offer. Choose the ones that you are most passionate about, and then we will pair you up with an organization where you can make a real difference in real people's lives.
You can serve with us for either a summer or a year. So go to lovethyneighborhood.org and apply today.
Hey, welcome back to the Enneacast. As always, Jesse Eubanks.
Sam Stevenson here.
And our guest today is James Santos. James is a corporate chaplain and life coach for Manna Incorporated, where he cares for the spiritual needs of employees of over 450 fast food restaurants. He was previously a hospice chaplain, caring for people and their families in their final moments of life. He's also been a lay pastor at his church and a private life coach. And lately, he's actually been focusing on grief care. James, we're super excited to have you with us. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's exciting.
So you just heard our overview of your type. Mm-hmm. So what resonates with you?
Yeah, I think with the descriptions of a two, helper, giver, and another recent one that I heard was a befriender by Beatrice Chestnut there. Very helpful. I think those are pretty accurate. And depending on situations, you find yourself in those, particular, roles. So, but yeah, I think everything that was shared, was helpful.
Well, two's, you're really generous, giving people, and two's model sacrifice so well for the rest of us. How do you see two's lean into this gift of generosity?
Yeah, I think generosity is usually exemplified in relationships, by their time, resources, all those things. I think relationally, we're definitely very connected. That's one of the ways that we give of ourselves is just time spending, whether that's in coffee shops or visiting them in their homes, or in my case, I visit people in their workplaces, work sites, or in hospitals. Presence is pretty big, as far as speaking with me, but those are the ways that we give of ourselves generously.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the nature of your job, right? Is that, if there's an employee that's gone through something really, really difficult, is that, you get in a car, you get on a plane, you go and you spend time with them, and you spend time with that store or that family as they go through these really difficult seasons.
Yes.
Your role is about the generosity of presence.
Right. Yeah, and I think as I've done hospice work and even doing church work for a great length of time, I'm realizing the value of presence. Because I think people are always looking for, what words to say, or, how do you engage in these situations? And it seems that as I look back in the way I've served, the kingdom and the church, presence really rises to the top. And really, even in hospice, the big thing that I took away in hospice is the less you said things, the better. But just showing up and being known. So silence has actually been something that I've had to learn pretty quickly when I was doing hospice work.
Yeah, when I had a family member die, and I can tell you everyone that was there in her final moments, but I I have no clue what they said to me.
Yeah.
But I completely remember who was there.
Right.
And just their mere presence was exactly what I needed in that moment. Because, there's nothing that people could say to me.
No.
Yeah. As a two, do you find that was challenging not to kind of have this reactive, this thing, oh, well, you have a need, so can I help you? How can I help you? What was that like for you to kind of take that transition from a sense of I'm here because they needed help to, oh, the thing I can offer is just myself, and it's not an action or a speech that would solve or help really in this moment?
It was really hard, Sam, and I think I'm still learning how to, rest in who God has made me and my presence. But yes, being theologically trained and reading a whole lot. It's easy to just depend on words and to just put all your weight on words. But yeah, so I think it was my season at hospice where I realized, like, wow, these people don't need a lot of my clever or scriptural knowledge because majority of these people have a church background and they know that. But at this particular time, they need someone to just hold their story. And that's looking them in the eye, that's giving them a hug, that's, arm around the shoulder. So it's those things. But yeah, hospice really taught me to just step back and say, oh, wow, words can fail you in so many settings. And so presence is going to win out at the end.
Yeah,
so,
that's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah, I think as twos, you kind of have you're kind of wired for that, though. That comes easily to just to have that empathy component. So I'm a 9, and we'll learn more about them later on. But 9s just they kind of have a presence that's very peaceful and very they can just kind of offer themselves up. But for me, it's the challenge is to have that empathy component and to really be able to sit and just listen and to feel with somebody. I think that there is a gift that twos and everybody in the heart triad that can offer. It's just the ability to feel for other people when they can't feel some of those things for themselves.
Absolutely.
So that's a huge gift and a huge characteristic of God that I think twos naturally just bring into the relationships and the work that they do. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think that all the twos that I know, they're just loyal and kind friends, But James, what do you think that twos show the rest of us about friendship with God? Because all of us bear the image of God, and I think that twos sort of bring a unique image of God's friendship with us. What is it that they're showing us?
Yeah, the word that comes to mind, Jesse, is this word intimacy. And I like a definition that I heard just recently where intimacy is shared experience. And I think the more I pay attention to how God has wired me and uniquely made me is my longing and desire and love for shared experiences. And isn't that really what friendship is about, isn't it? It's thinking and reflecting on those shared experiences with each other, because that's what intimacy ultimately is. It's, intimacy with God, because that's really what we have in Christ is that shared experience lived out in ordinary, day-to-day life. And so that's what I would say that, we have as an opportunity as twos to help, people.
Well, what you've just talked about is this idea of doing life with God. And unfortunately, sometimes twos get confused and think it's life for God. And, twos are often, they're drawn to people in need, but sometimes it's not really from a healthy place.
Yeah.
So can you describe for us what happens inside of a two as they begin to give from a non-resourceful place?
Yes. And I think that's a great distinction, Jesse, about doing things for God or doing things with God. And I think that's a really great contrast, because that's where I think twos get in trouble, is this view and this approach of doing life where I'm doing things for God. And that's what does get us in trouble, because we get so externally focused and so driven by meeting the needs and wants and desires of people that they lose touch of their own needs, right? And we're so, again, driven by the outside and what people need. So it's good for twos to step back and say it doesn't. We're not first human doers, as I've that cliche, but we're human beings. We need to come from a place that we're invited to live this with God life versus even just living for God. And I think it's easy to get the cart before the horse. And so coming from a place where this with God life, it's much healthier because one, you know your boundaries, you know who you are, and you're not, your identity is not dependent upon people and how they respond to you. It's not that you're okay because they're okay. No, you're already okay because you're with God, you're with Christ.
But what you're talking about is really kind of scary, confusing stuff because a lot of people are probably listening if they're twos and they're going, I almost don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh.
Because their life is about serving other people. You know, the heart triad of all the triads, it said that we turn everything into doing because we see the relational implications of everything that takes place in life. And so we translate almost all moments through its relational implications. And for the two, they're going, wait, how am I supposed to not be doing all these things? Look at all the relational need in the world. And, you know, you're saying, hey, don't make that about who you are.
Right. Well, in 2015, Jesse, I was asked and encouraged to take a sabbatical, doing any care stuff or counseling stuff for a year. And I tell you, the first 3 months, it was hard to separate myself from what I provided and helped people to just saying, hey, I'm present, God, and I'm going to serve and be, the father, husband. But yeah, even just removing that, for the first couple of weeks was so disorienting. It felt like a midlife unraveling, if you will.
Yeah,
So
it makes so much sense. What are some of that? Can you kind of unpack maybe some of the twos are probably the most prone to burnout and just the overworking and the overextension. So what was that kind of like for you, kind of pre-sabbatical recommendation versus what kind of took place on that year of realizing, oh, like I've got some stuff to work on here?
I think my wife would appreciate, me bringing some of these things out. And again, Sam, I'm still learning, my pace, my boundaries, and what God's called me to. But yeah, pre-sabbatical, I was maybe gone 3 nights, out of the week doing individual counseling, family counseling. On top of that, maybe doing 5 to 6 care cases, and then still doing a full-time job, parenting and being a father to 5 kids.
Wow.
And still getting together with folks at church. But it was more so even not at a place of life-giving relationships, but always there was this need component where they needed help and counseling. So it was wrapped up more of being driven because people need help. And so James Santos is going to step up in the plate and do that because no one else is going to do it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the pride of twos.
Yeah, that indispensable, like, if I don't, then what? Like, there seems to be so much at stake in the mind of a two, because they really can step into people with severe needs. So it does become kind of a catch-22 because they're the ones that are kind of going into the trenches, but they need people in their corner as well. And they need to recognize and admit that you have limitations, and those boundaries are super important to establish.
It is. I can remember pre-sabbatical. I was trying to answer every text, every ding, every email, every phone call, every voicemail. That my rule actually was if somebody reached me that day, I was going to try to reach out to them that day also, which it becomes overwhelming. And I did. I think I was definitely at that place of burnout and needed to adjust and recalibrate.
Yeah, because we're overly available.
Oh, yeah.
Technology just lets anybody get to us, and then it becomes tricky to figure out what's most important and what's not.
Yeah.
So you've talked a little bit about pride. So, how can you spot your pride coming into play? Like, what's the point at which, a two, when they begin to believe that they have to go out to other people to win those people over to them, because that's what's going on with the two, right? It's like, I'm doing all these things and it looks like I'm doing it for you, but it's really to fill this shame and this fear of emptiness inside of me. Yeah. So when do you begin to see pride show up?
Well, again, I think the motivation within twos is to be liked, to be loved, to be approved, right? And so I'm going to try to pursue that or react to that as possible. And even when I think about pride, I think even distill this, it's really self-sufficiency. It's saying, I'm going to pay attention to your needs, but in terms of mine, I'm not going to make mention of that because it's going to burden you. Right.
Right. Yeah. Because that would be the last thing that they need in that moment. Like, it's all about you right now. Like, if I brought my stuff in, then that would help. That would not make your situation any better.
Yes. And in pride, in terms of how I detect, it's really tricky. And I think it takes just, the gift of awareness and the Lord to just help. But I think where pride shows up is, I think in my mind that I know your need better than you do.
Oh.
I know what you're struggling better than you do. And so I'm going to ask enough questions to draw that out, to lead you so that I can maybe expound on it and maybe marvel you with what I know about that. And that's something that I have to really be aware of. And that's where I have to be in a posture of lovingly curious, than more so being manipulative, and I would say a great definition by, again, Beatrice Chestnut on manipulation is moving things around behind the scenes to get what you want in an indirect way. And so that's another kind of offshoot of pride to be aware of, that I need to be aware of, because I'm not, Jesus, who knows, the hearts of men. Mm-hmm. I need to give them space to allow to discover that for themselves versus me, thinking that I know better than they do, if that makes sense.
So part of what you're getting at is this idea of boundaries, right? Yeah. I mean, you're getting this idea that there's a place where James ends and someone else begins. Yeah. And for twos, that sense of where that boundary is gets really kind of confusing. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what advice do you have for the twos that are listening? I mean, how have you seen the ramifications of not establishing healthy boundaries, and how do you begin to establish healthy boundaries?
Right. I think twos need to learn how to say no, and to also understand that when we say no, it's a complete sentence. Because I've discovered about myself that even when I say no, I want to footnote it. Yeah. I want to justify it. And I just need to rest in saying, when I say no, I'm saying yes to something that I really need, whether that's, silence and solitude with the Lord or running a trail. That's how I, have my outlets. I go trail running a lot, because I just come to a point where, like, okay, it's good for me to disengage and not call the next person that I need to counsel or follow up, because they're hanging on if I don't call, it's that dynamic. So,
I've heard someone say that it's important to have clarity about what your yes is in life, because that helps you know immediately what your no's need to be.
Yes.
And if you don't have clarity about what your yeses are, then you're going to say yes to everything.
That's good. Right. And I think it takes that intentionality, doesn't it, to be able to go in, silence. And that's why I think disengaging, silence and solitude is a great, healthy way of discovering your boundaries. Because if you don't have that, you're right. You're going to just say yes to anything. And, basically culture and your schedule dictates what you're going to do.
Well, twos can sometimes really struggle with understanding and seeing their own needs. Mm-hmm. So, how can those that love the twos in their life, that love the helpers, that help them through so many things in life, how can these folks love the twos that are still on a journey when twos are so reluctant to even admit their own needs? Right. How can the rest of us go, hey, how can I serve you? When it's like, no, I'm good. Yeah. It's like, oh, well, where do we go from here?
And I think, again, community friends and close friends, I have, a community group who I've been able to share life with, and they know my tendencies. They know where I don't draw the boundaries, and they know when I'm not expressing my need. And so I have a couple in our community group where they'll say to me in a loving way, they'll say, hey, James, what do you need? And I know exactly what they're getting at. It's not, and they'll know if I'll say, there's nothing, but they'll have me sit on that and then maybe come back to them 2 or 3 days. And I'll usually just say, hey, that's a great question. Can I get back to you? So I think intentional community is important. I mean, that's how I've grown, being a healthy two than a non-healthy two.
I've also heard a good piece of advice is don't feel the compulsion to answer immediately. It's perfectly fine to say, let me think on it or I'll get back to you. Right. Because sometimes the two instinct of saying yes to things is so strong that sometimes twos need to go through an extended period where they don't say yes to anything immediately. They just say, let me think on it, let me get back to you, because they need to pull back and think before they act.
Yeah. And I think intentional time of really asking yourself, what do I need? And that's a hard question. Or even how I feel. How am I feeling right now? I mean, as honestly as I can, because those are two questions. How I feel, what do I need, are two hard questions for twos to answer because they're so connected and tethered to other people's needs that they get lost. They don't know. And that's why I think you're right, Jess. They need that time of separation whenever someone asks or requests of them.
Yeah, I have one question. Kind of our hope for starting this mini series was for our audience who is maybe on this journey of waking up about their own self-awareness. And what advice or what have you learned or how have you grown in this self-awareness? How is the self-awareness that you've had in waking up to your tendencies, how has that improved the quality of your life and your friendships and even your relationship with the Lord? Yeah,
that's a great question, Sam. So I just got off from a 12-year anniversary we went to Estes Park, Colorado. And, silence and solitude, but then applied in journaling, has been probably a personal rhythm liturgy that I do to that has helped me have more self-reflection, but also self-awareness, and how that has benefited me. I think it's given me more of a greater capacity to be that helper and giver, and that it's just a non-negotiable for two that they need silence and solitude, even more solitude away from people, because we're so externally focused once again. But even my trip in Colorado, just walking the trails and sitting at a bench every day for 4 days and just noticing the sunrise, which is great for me. Yeah. Because it taught me that I cannot cause the sun to rise faster than, I want, but I had to wait, And so for, that time there, I just soaked it in. And then when it's time to move on to go. But I would say that silence and solitude has been my number one go-to, and that's why I run trails. I can get away, look at trees, run the trails. But to find an outlet where you're not engaged or tethered or having to react to people's needs is invaluable.
And I think that part of what you're getting at, again, is this idea of when, I've heard that said that anybody in the heart triad, if we go somewhere and there's even one other person around, we feel some kind of relational connection to them. And in some way, we begin to make decisions even based on their presence, even if they're a stranger to us. Yeah. And that something else happens when we're in total solitude because it's just us and the Lord, and we begin to receive his delight. We begin to receive his love, his presence, his excitement, his affirmation, his fatherly guidance. Yeah. But we struggle to receive those things when we're in the presence of any other human being because we're so relationally oriented that we are like magnets. We just move towards them.
Oh, I mean, I think the hard thing is even in church setting or any setting, you're so intuitive and so sensitive to the needs around you, whether it's a facial expression or a body. I mean, I can tell in a room if there's something out of sorts or dysfunctional. And twos typically will draw near to that and ask and see if there is a need. And sometimes, again, the pride is sometimes it feels it may be directed to them. And so they're going to try to figure out how to solve that. So it's something to, take notice.
Well, when we come back, we'll be playing Your Worst Nightmare. Stay with us.
Ooh.
On today's episode of the Enneacast, we're exploring Type 2, the helper. And there have been some studies that have come out that have shown that of all of the Enneagram personalities, Type 2, the helper, they are the most likely to experience burnout. And so, if you want to explore the topic of burnout, head over to our other podcast, the Love Thy Neighborhood podcast, and make sure to check out episode number 13, where the gospel meets burnout.
There were so many responsibilities, whether it's another sermon to preach, whether that's another lecture to give.
My tendency during that time period was to think immediately, well, I'm not being a good wife. He thinks I'm being a bad mom.
Like, I don't have time to rest. I can't.
I've often said, what would it have been like to be the next leper in line? And Jesus says, that's all. And I'm still a leper.
And that's when it just struck me. I'm like, something is wrong with me.
So subscribe to the Love Thy Neighborhood podcast right now. You can either do that in whatever app you're listening to this show on, or you can head over to our website at lovethyneighborhood.org/podcast. All right, welcome back to the Enneacast. I'm Jesse Eubanks.
And I'm Sam Stevenson.
All right, and now it's time for your worst nightmare. Little music.
Oh, yeah, man. That just sounds scary. Worst nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah, we're here to terrify you.
Okay.
So this is how the game works. Your worst nightmare. Sam is going to read 4 different cards to you.
Okay.
And then you are going to rank those in the order in which you are afraid of them, with the first being the most afraid, all the way down to the 4th, which is you are least afraid of that item.
1-4.
So as she reads these 4 to you, you write down your answers. And then I am going to write down the order in which I think that you rank them.
Okay.
And we're going to see how many points that I can get and how close I can get to being correct.
Yeah, sorry, James. We totally tailored these for 2s. So here we go. Round 1. Item number 1, disappointing others. Item number 2, getting old.
Okay.
3, being alone. 4, missing the game-winning shot in the championship finals.
Okay.
Can you read them again?
Yeah. Number 1, disappointing others. 2, getting old. 3, being alone. 4, missing that game-winning shot in the championship final.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow. That's great.
Okay. I think I've got you.
All right.
Well,
yeah, James, read us your answers first, right?
Answers first?
I think I got you now.
Okay. So being alone actually can be super scary for me.
Okay.
Okay,
that's number 1.
I didn't even get close on that one. That was like way down on my list. Yeah. No, I had it as number 2. So okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's
you can't accommodate to me. Don't accommodate to me.
Well, I saw the second one and I was like, so disappointing people would
is
be
number
my
2.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had those reversed.
Okay, and again, I was tied the more I thought about. Okay, here we go.
You could just adjust
I'm
your cards so I
declaring.
can get some points.
I am declaring. Growing old would be number 3.
I got that one.
Nice.
I got that one.
Nice.
And then what's the last? Hitting the last shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's,
I mean, the stakes are high. It's all on you. The game's on your shoulders.
I'm 5'3". I'm not gonna. Yeah.
Oh man.
Hit the game-winning shot. I'll probably get blocked.
Maybe in like a Boy Scouts league or something.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey,
Or
I can say that
soccer?
because I am also extremely short.
doesn't have to be-
One of the reasons that James and I love hanging out is that like short guys rule the world. And let me also say this. It is awesome being married to a taller woman.
Oh, man.
It's like being married to a supermodel.
Amen. See, that has worked on our pride and furthered our humility.
Yeah. So tall ladies of the world, us short guys love y'all.
Absolutely.
No comment. Yeah. Okay, round 2. Here we go. The principal's office.
Ooh.
Hate crimes, illness, and oversleeping.
Ooh.
Those are that.
So hate
that list again.
crimes.
Yeah.
Second
Principal's office.
Okay.
Hate crimes, illness, and oversleeping.
Oh, this is hard.
Oh man.
This is a really, really hard one. Are you struggling? I'm struggling.
I'm just shooting. I'm declaring here.
Okay.
So
okay. Yeah, this is
a tough round.
one. Okay.
They all sound,
Okay, so when we go.
You ready?
Yeah.
Jesse, are you ready for his answer?
I'm ready.
Okay.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm ready.
So, principal's office.
Number 1.
Number 1.
Was number 1?
Yes.
The principal.
Oh,
Why?
you are a stranger to me.
I think I've had some trauma in my past. I did see the principal when I was in 7th grade and set a trajectory of that's not going to happen again. So
It just happened the one time?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I had like a parking space in the principal's office.
Did you?
They're
I
like,
had
"Hey,
my
Jesse,
own
here
like
again."
student of the month spot,
Oh,
but not
man.
in the positive sort of
Yeah.
way.
Wow.
Okay.
See,
Okay.
yeah.
Was it
Now,
just
I
like
put
that
it as number
fear
4. I thought for certain like, oh, he's gonna think, oh, the principal's calling because she wants to thank me.
No,
You know,
I'm like, yeah, that's nightmare. Yeah.
Okay.
So, oversleeping.
Number 2.
Yeah, I think because I've had so many dreams where I've like missed an appointment or been late, like, yeah, that just really
Is it
terrified.
the inconveniencing of others?
Yes,
and yeah, the
absolutely.
responsibility that other, I'm sure as a father, like if you oversleep,
Oh,
then that's
man.
everybody's late to everything. You're late to work, I'm sure.
Even coming down here, I was telling Sam, like, I was late. I'm like, I'm inconveniencing and burdening Jesse Eubanks.
Yeah, we almost canceled your segment.
Man, I was, yeah.
Okay, so I'm 0 for 2 on this one.
Wow.
So illness
Okay.
will be number 3.
I literally ranked you in the opposite order
Did
of
you?
the truth. I'm so sorry.
Hey,
So hate crimes is number 4
number 4.
of most afraid of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That surprises me. And the only reason I say
You know what? I'm sorry. I might have gotten that backwards. I'm flipping it.
No, don't flip it.
Can I?
But if he flips it, I got it all.
I think you
but-
got it right. So
but James,
I
why
misread
are you
that.
flipping
So,
it?
well, no, I'm being truthful here. I'm before the Lord. No, I think I missed. So basically,
So number 1 is your most fear.
feared. Yes.
Yeah. So number 1 is
Yeah,
it's
and
still
then
principal.
hate crimes will be
4th. It's okay
Sure.
that hate crimes are.
Is
Can I
hate
did?
crimes the thing you're least fearful of?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
then
never mind.
you
I
got
did.
0 points,
I
Jesse.
bombed.
did I?
So I'm
Okay.
0 for 4 on
Okay.
this one. 0
Yeah.
for 4 on this one. All right. Well, let's see if I can redeem myself.
Okay, so round 3. Anybody keeping score in here? I don't know.
I've got
Yeah.
no, I've got two whopping points so
all right.
far. Yeah. I'm
all right.
doing
For
terrible.
for all the marbles, round 4. Item 1, rejection. Item 2, being fired. Item 3, disorder and chaos. Item 4, telling a joke and no one laughed.
That's so good.
Wow.
That makes me afraid. Like, especially like it's the worst. Like, you and I both speak from the stage sometimes. You ever try to say
It's
something
the
and you're
ultimate
like, and you're like,
connection.
they'll think this is funny, and then like no one in the room
Oh,
laughs, and you're
man.
like, oh, I should just put the microphone down.
Yeah.
Right
I should
now.
go home.
So rejection, being fired, and what's the third one, Sam?
Disorder and chaos.
Okay, disorder and chaos. Oh, okay. You ready?
Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay, I'm ready.
It's interesting. The way you like said them would be my order from like most
Oh, yeah?
afraid to least.
Is that
I just
Did you
got
get it?
the ultimate setup.
Woo,
This is a
wow.
comeback
Yeah.
story.
okay? So James, for clarification, what are your top
so
4?
rejection,
Number 1.
being fired would be second.
Yeah.
And then disorder and chaos would be 3.
Yeah.
And then, telling a joke, which I don't tell a lot
You
of
never
jokes.
never joke.
No.
Stone
very
Cold
serious
James.
man.
Stone,
I-
Stone Cold
and this
Santos,
is good
that's what
for
they
me
call him.
because my wife always say that people think that you're just serious, James. There's no goofy side, which I can be goofy when my kids think I'm goofy.
Yeah.
Well, this is awesome. This was a comeback story.
Yeah,
Okay, so
what a
So here's the
redemption.
deal. So if you get, I meant to say this earlier, you get all 4
You get an extra point.
and you get an extra point.
Oh.
So I got 5 on that round. So so I landed for a possible total score of 15. I ended up with 7.
7.
So so I've got some work to do on my Enneagram knowledge here.
Yeah.
Well,
That was a tough one.
That was
No,
a
I'm proud.
tough one.
But
That
it's
was a
all
tough
in
one.
fun, though, right?
it's all in fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. That was great.
It's tough because if you put these different cards in different stacks, then the ranking would be totally different. So it's all about their connection and relationship to each other.
That was great.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's time now for the final 5 questions. All right, so James, every guest that we have on the show, we ask 5 final questions.
Yeah.
And so here we go. Sam?
Mm-hmm.
us
Question
off.
1. What actor would play you in a movie?
What actor? Lord of the Rings, Sam Gamgee would be
Samwise?
Samwise. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. From Goonies and Stranger
Yeah.
Things. And
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the first thing that came up. He
Yeah.
was just that guy to just
He's the go-to guy.
go-to guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob,
So-
right? Is it?
Yeah,
what's his
it
name?
was Bob on
Yeah.
Stranger Things. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, I endorse that. I like
You
it.
know? Okay.
Okay, number 2. If we had a phone that could call your 21-year-old self, what would you say to them?
James, not everyone needs your help. You can relax in knowing that you're valuable, you're loved, and you're gifted and strong.
That's great.
Yeah. Question 3. How can friends and loved ones affirm someone with your personality type?
It's as simple as a question of, James, what do you need? How can you be loved today? And how can I give you space?
That's good.
Maybe, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, because it's space away from people needing you.
Yeah.
And to have time alone. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, number 4. How does the good news of God's delight help to heal your type's deadly sin of pride?
Yeah.
How does God's delight help heal pride?
I think, and this is something I've been thinking about and actually been praying, is that I can feel safe even when I've disappointed or frustrated people, and that I don't have to react by chasing their love and their approval, or, but that I can know that love in Christ is right here. It's available right now for James Santos. And so knowing that love and knowing that delight is available at this present moment is my freedom, is my peace.
That's good. And last question. What scripture verse do you hold dear as it relates to your personality type?
Ever since discovering the Enneagram, and also just the healthy and unhealthy side of the two, I think Ephesians 3, verses 18 and 19 has been an anchoring passage. May have strength to comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and length and height and depth, and to know the love of Christ that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled with all the fullness of God. So that to know the love of Christ.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, James, thanks so much for being with us today. It's really been great. We've really appreciated you guys.
Thank you.
This
is
you
great.
guys. There's not multiple.
I know.
We really appreciate having you here with us.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's great.
yeah. So thanks to James Santos. To learn more about James' life coaching, head over to Facebook and search for Cornerstone Care, and you'll find James' Facebook page where he and his wife do life coaching and sometimes even teach Enneagram workshops. Also, we want to thank Crosspoint Ministry, because Crosspoint Ministry actually trained all 3 of us in this room on the Enneagram. We love these guys. So to learn more about Crosspoint, or to attend one of their many amazing retreats, actually, which James helps lead some of those, visit crosspointministry.com.
Our show is a production of Love Thy Neighborhood. Love Thy Neighborhood provides social action internships supported by Christian Community for young adults ages 18 to 30. Serve for a summer or a year. Grow in your faith and life skills. Learn more at lovethyneighborhood.org.
Today's episode was produced by myself and Sam Stevenson, engineering and editing by Janelle Dawkins with Justice Smith. Music for today's episode comes from Murphy DX.
I'm Sam Stevenson.
And I'm Jesse Eubanks. Remember, the eye can see everything but itself. Find people to journey with you, because you were created for community.